Let's break this down. What was meant to be a wholesome, low-key birthday celebration for little Lilibet Diana, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's daughter, unexpectedly spiraled into a full-scale public relations disaster. The location at the center of this controversy? None other than Disneyland, famously branded as the happiest place on earth. But in this case, it became the stage for yet another storm surrounding the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Setting the scene. It all happened on June 4th, under the bright Californian sun, Lilibet's birthday. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were seen walking into Disneyland, accompanied by their two children, Archie and Lilibet. On the surface, this sounded like a sweet family outing, just a regular day of making memories with the kids at a beloved theme park. But what unfolded told a completely different story. From the moment a series of blurry, paparazzi-style photos surfaced online, it became apparent to many observers that this wasn't a spontaneous, private family day. In fact, it felt staged. The photos, though made to seem like they were taken secretly from a distance, looked suspiciously well-timed and strategically positioned. The privacy paradox. This raised an immediate question that critics and the public couldn't ignore. Why would a couple who repeatedly expresses their deep desire for privacy choose to take their children to one of the most public, camera-ridden places in the United States? Disneyland is known for being filled with tourists, and where tourists go, cameras follow. For people genuinely looking to avoid media attention, Disneyland is hardly the ideal getaway. More eyebrow-raising was the couple's refusal to take a private entrance or VIP tour route. Instead, they walked right into the park with maximum visibility, practically ensuring they'd be seen and photographed. And seen they were. Within a matter of hours, tabloids and media outlets had splashed the images across headlines worldwide, celebrating what they framed as a charming family day out. But there was a catch. The children's faces were blurred in the photos. The public response. This detail ignited controversy. To many, it felt like a pattern that's become all too familiar in the Sussex PR playbook. Use the children to generate media buzz and positive press, but then blur their faces afterward as a supposed gesture of protecting their privacy. It gave the impression of trying to have it both ways, leveraging their children's presence for sympathy and attention while pretending to be fiercely protective. Outspoken commentator Piers Morgan, a longtime critic of Harry and Meghan, responded harshly, and although he didn't mention their names directly, it was clear who he was talking about. He criticized celebrities who use their children for publicity, only to blur out their faces as if that undoes the exploitative act. "We see you," he posted. Just 3 simple words, but they lit a firestorm online. Social media exploded. The comment struck a nerve, highlighting what many saw as hypocrisy. This is a couple that has made millions by publicly airing family grievances, publishing memoirs, participating in interviews, and signing major deals with streaming platforms to tell their side of the story, all while simultaneously asking the public and press to stay out of their private lives. That one post seemed to shatter the illusion, making it clear to many that this wasn't a family being hounded by the press. It looked more like a deliberately orchestrated media moment, disguised as an innocent outing. Suspicions confirmed. Further fueling the speculation were reports from Disneyland insiders. Several staff members and employees reportedly noted that the couple's entourage was unusually prominent and visible, more than what is typical for even high-profile guests. Certain areas of the park appeared to be strategically filled with photographers, ones who somehow managed to be in exactly the right place at exactly the right time. Coincidence? Hard to believe. To many, it felt like watching the opening scene of a Netflix docuseries trailer unfold live with carefully placed players, dramatic visuals, and calculated angles. As the public buzzed over the surreal family outing that felt more like a brand campaign shoot, the questions deepened. Was this a soft launch of their next media venture? Or just another page out of the Sussex PR manual that keeps backfiring? The optics war observers couldn't help but notice the cinematic quality of the scene. Meghan's carefully curated casual look, Harry's dad-on-duty demeanor, the kids in frame just long enough to tug at the heartstrings but not long enough for their identities to be violated. It felt less like a birthday celebration and more like a publicity chess move. But here's where it truly unravels. Disneyland, of all places, is no neutral ground. Insiders familiar with how high-profile guests are handled at the park confirmed that VIP guests, especially those with security concerns, are routinely offered private entry points, secluded routes, and even discreet ride access away from the general crowd. Harry and Meghan reportedly declined these accommodations. Instead, they walked straight through the main entrance, the same one used by families lugging strollers and popcorn buckets. For people who once claimed being chased by paparazzi through a New York City car chase, a story that has also been widely questioned, their voluntary visibility at Disneyland seemed painfully contradictory. The blurred faces debate. The decision to blur the children's faces, while legally and ethically sound, only heightened the backlash. Why invite cameras into your moment if your message is about shielding your kids? People began reposting clips from Harry's past interviews, where he condemned the media's intrusion into his childhood and vowed not to subject his own children to the same scrutiny. Yet here they were, Archie and Lilibet, literally in the center of a staged media moment, with images that were clearly meant to go viral. It's this duality that has exhausted public sympathy. One user put it bluntly: you can't write books, sell documentaries, sign Spotify deals, and then expect people to turn off their curiosity when it comes to the kids you've built your entire public narrative around. The Sussex brand problem. For all their claims of escaping the institution to live a peaceful life in California, Harry and Meghan now seem to be trapped in a different kind of machine, the content machine. Netflix needs moments. Spotify needed sound bites. Memoirs need memory. But public trust needs consistency, and that's where the cracks show. Disneyland, ironically, became the perfect metaphor for their PR trajectory. A curated experience sold as real magic, but behind the scenes, it's a mechanical, choreographed production. Even sympathetic voices started speaking out. Longtime royal watchers and commentators who once supported their departure from royal life began questioning whether Harry and Meghan were addicted to controlling the narrative, rather than simply seeking peace. Was it a setup? The most damning speculation came when an anonymous Disneyland employee told a tabloid that certain staff were informed a special guest family would be present that day and were instructed to not interfere with media presence. This added fuel to the theory that paparazzi weren't there by accident. They were there by design. Suddenly, this wasn't just poor judgment. It looked intentional, a setup, a scene. And just like that, the Disneyland footage wasn't sweet. It was strategic. The blurred faces weren't protection, they were props. And the birthday trip? Possibly a soft launch trailer for their next media pivot. The fallout. As the media firestorm grew, Meghan's camp reportedly went into damage control mode. Select publications received statements insisting the trip was private and not part of any project. But by then, the genie was out of the bottle. The public had already decided. What should have been a quiet celebration for a child became a national debate on celebrity hypocrisy, privacy ethics, and the blurred line between family and brand. And in that debate, one thing became painfully clear. The more Harry and Meghan try to curate their image, the more the world begins to see through it. As the media storm raged on and social media continued to dissect every pixel of those Disneyland photos, the story that began as a cheerful birthday outing ended in the ruins of another public relations crisis. The damage this time felt different, less like a controversy, more like a turning point. When authenticity fails, Harry and Meghan's brand was once built on a compelling narrative. Two royals who turned their backs on a centuries-old institution to seek peace, truth, and privacy. But with every public outing that feels staged, every candid photo that looks choreographed, and every interview that contradicts the one before it, that narrative loses its weight. Even some of their most ardent defenders began to falter. Opinion pieces, once full of empathy, now posed harder questions. Are Harry and Meghan simply victims of the media? Or are they playing the same game, only under a different flag? When every spontaneous family moment comes with a camera flash, how much of their life is truly private? And most of all, do they even know where the line between personal and performance lies anymore? The PR repercussions. Within days of the Disneyland photos going viral, PR analysts weighed in. Industry veteran and celebrity crisis manager Rachel Masters told Variety, "It's not the photos themselves, it's the context. They've boxed themselves into a paradox. Every public step must now be calculated for authenticity. The moment it feels off, the backlash is tenfold." Social media sentiment reflected this. Hashtags like #PrivacyParade and #SussexScript began trending. Meme culture took over. One viral tweet sarcastically read, "Can't wait for the Netflix special, Magic Kingdom Messy Royals." The situation escalated from bad optics to a full-blown credibility crisis. Brand partnerships and potential media deals, always delicate in this climate, now carried a shadow of doubt. Was the couple still bankable? Or were they becoming tabloid kryptonite? A quiet response. In the weeks that followed, Harry and Meghan remained notably silent. No formal statements, no interviews, no follow-up posts. Their usual PR play, countering criticism with a new cause, charity, or podcast appearance, didn't come. Instead, there was radio silence, perhaps signaling that even they realized this moment required more than damage control. For once, the best strategy might have been to truly step back. Lilibet, the birthday girl. And at the center of all this, a child. Lilibet, who should have had nothing more on her mind than cake and cartoons, became a footnote in a larger narrative about parental missteps and media manipulation. It raised a broader, more uncomfortable conversation. How much is too much when it comes to public children of public figures? Critics and supporters alike agreed on one thing. The kids didn't ask for this, and whether it was intentional or not, their visibility, even with blurred faces, was now entangled in the Sussex brand machine, the final scene. And so, what began as a sunlit stroll into Disneyland ended in a slow-motion collapse of public trust. Not because of one event, but because it symbolized something bigger. A couple once seen as brave rebels now resembled actors in their own never-ending docuseries, unsure of where the script ends and reality begins. The story ends not with a bang, but with a long, awkward silence. The magic of Disneyland couldn't mask the uncomfortable truth. You can't stage authenticity. Because sooner or later, the curtain slips, the illusion cracks, and even the most charming royal fairy tale becomes just another media circus.